What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and today we have the Pirate Alliance KIZUNA Clash finally going live against Blackbeard. So once again, it's not going to be any free-to-play unit, which is a little bit underwhelming, but the thing to remember is that for KIZUNA clashes that are not Super Boss KIZUNAs, you don't really have to go that crazy for. I mean, we can just have a look at the KIZUNA exchange very briefly here. If we have a look at the treasure list, we can see here that the only real desirable item is the Super Evolution Skulls for Blackbeard from boxes 2 all the way to box 6. Of course, along the way you'll get access to the Rare Recruit tickets, and there's a Rainbow Gem, I believe, in every single box as well. But when you reach box 7, it's your pretty typical stuff with 1,000 items and 5 of each of the tablets. Like, in all honesty, you don't have to go too crazy for this KIZUNA, so I know that a lot of people are going to be, kind of struggling, honestly, because some of these bosses, specifically the Int and the Psy boss, I think are going to be relatively challenging for people just due to the mechanics that happen on stage 2. The Strength boss is actually pretty straightforward though, and I think many people shouldn't have an issue with that, but definitely the Int boss I think is going to really allow a lot of people to struggle. So in this video today, I have a set of quote-unquote accessible teams as well as my own personal teams up against this KIZUNA clash, so hopefully you guys do go on to enjoy the video. But remember, for a KIZUNA clash such as this, you don't have to stress too much, so long as you can make it to the end of box 6 where you're able to pick up all of the Super Evolution Skulls for Blackbeard. That's the best case scenario. Remember that on the current Pirate Rumble season, you can get access to Blackbeard for free. You can get up to 2 copies of the character, which is fantastic, so make sure to actually play Pirate Rumble, get the copies of the character, as well as getting access to his Super Evolution Skulls via the KIZUNA. So make sure you're actually doing that. It's going to be very important because the character is free. It's a free legend, and the character is very, very good as well. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump into the video. So jumping into the swing of things, the first team that we have, or the first set of teams, is going to be the accessible teams. Of course, go down below in the timeline of the video or in the video description to see all the timestamps to skip to a team that you want to go ahead and have a look at. But these first 2 teams are a little sketchy because we don't really get through it effectively. So realistically, you will have to activate a special ability prior to. So these teams will probably need to change a little bit moving forward, but this is where things get a little bit tricky. Is Battle 2 on both the Int and the Psy fight are very challenging, because not only is there 5 turns of a very annoying debuff, but there's also an additional gimmick once you kill the enemy. So on Battle 2 of the Int fight that you're seeing here, not only will you have to deal with the attack down, but after you kill him, he's going to blow away your captain for 4 turns. So you need to switch a character into the captain position to tank that. Alternatively, you could use someone like V1 Sanji to activate his jump ability to avoid that. There are a couple of different scenarios you can use in order to get around it. Some people were trying to think of a team like, getting your captain blown away, but then when you reach the final boss stage, just use Legend Germa Special to switch into the captain position. However, people have found out, shout out to TheLordShiro for letting me know, that if you actually go ahead and use Germa Special when you don't have a captain, they will not switch into the captain position. So if you are thinking of a strategy such as that, it will not work. You need to activate your captain switch before the blowaway happens, and then you need that character to be set as your captain, that was set as the captain, to switch away into something else. So ideally you activate the captain switch before the captain is blown away in order to deal with it. But then on the final boss stage, there are additional gimmicks of damage reduction, and there's also some bind to your captain, middle left, and bottom right, and then after level 30 there's going to be paralysis as well, and that bind will additionally go up to 8 turns of bind, but initially it is only 6 turns of bind, so it is relatively easy to deal with. At least just stage 2 is going to be a problem for a lot of people. Moving on to the secondary team, we are up against the Psy fight, and once again there's going to be an annoying gimmick that occurs on Battle 2. Now I am using V1 Sanji for this team because of his jump ability, however we actually don't kill the boss before we actually get to the final stage, so we actually have to tank the debuff that is essentially coming our way. But looking back at it, we could have potentially used Luffy's superclass special on Battle 2 just to give us a bit of additional damage. I don't know if it would have been enough to actually get the win, but you could alternatively use potentially a support on Bonnie that could increase your damage in some capacity. I haven't actually looked at what supports you could use, but we just lacked a little bit of damage on this stage, which would have been great moving into the final stage to have Sanji's jump effect. But what happens is after you kill this boss, one of the characters in your bottom row is going to be switched into the captain spot for 4 turns. This one isn't as bad to deal with because as long as you have a character in your bottom row that has a very good captain ability, you really don't have to worry about this one too much, but definitely Battle 2 on both this and the previous fight are relatively challenged to deal with. Now when you reach the boss stage on this fight versus Psy, the boss can actually change into either staying the same as a Psy unit or being a quick unit. And then the type change will occur also on the previous boss versus Int, which just adds a further layer of difficulty to these quests. There is also paralysis, there's damage threshold, and after level 30, there is also damage reduction by 5 turns, and there is also attack down. So there's lots of really annoying gimmicks after level 30, but as long as you can deal with the Battle 2, it goes a long way into helping you clear this overall fight. Moving on now to probably the easiest fight of all of the 3, which is the strength fight, where quick Dex and Psy characters receive cooldown here. Now there is a little bit of annoyance on Battle 2 where you get your health cut in half, and there is 5 turns of Rainbow Shield you have to deal with. But the health cut is not as bad as a lot of the other gimmicks that you have to deal with on Battle 2 on Psy and Int fights. But the annoying thing about that health cut is that when you actually reach the boss stage and you kill the boss, the enemy will deal 80,000 damage to the crew. So that's where the health cut can be a bit detrimental to the crew, because you will have to provide some pretty significant damage reduction in order to get it around that, and the best way around that is by using the brand new Treasure Map Legend Hina. Her special allows you to remove attack down, defense up, provides an orb boost or an attack boost depending on the team composition, and also provides damage reduction. So Hina essentially deals with almost everything on the boss stage that you will have to worry about. So by utilizing her as a friend captain, it makes your team building much easier, and depending on your level of super tandem on your Super Sugo Shanks, you could definitely abuse him in this fight, with that super tandem ability being incredibly powerful. So if you have Hina, it makes this fight a lot easier. Moving on now to my own personal teams, and I know not everyone is going to be able to build these teams, but I'm just showing you guys what I am doing for this KIZUNA. Now, this team is, I know, not very easy to build, but we are using Sengoku and his batch because it's basically built for this. Sengoku and his batch is essentially built for the first 2 fights, due to the fact that stage 2 has a lot of gimmicks around your captain and captain switching. The Sengoku batch just can get around it due to Kuzan specifically. For the int fight, he's perfect because he gets around the attack down and he switches into the captain position, and you do not need his special ability for the final stage. So by doing that, and we kill Jesus Burgess, when we move on to that next stage, Kuzan obviously is blown away, but then when we reach the next stage, of course, the captain switch will expire, meaning that Sengoku will return as our main captain. And of course, because the boss can be either int or dex for this fight, we can use the special ability of Kuzan or make Sengoku still be the captain to make sure we get the full type advantage. And remember that we can use the special abilities, or the super types should we say, of our crewmates to give them additional color affinity. And with the super tandem ability that Sengoku has, it means that whatever character is switching to the captain is going to be hitting extremely hard. And of course, all of the specials of the crewmates will deal with all of the gimmicks that we have to deal with as well, which is just phenomenal. Moving on to the versus sci-fi that I am using, and once again, it is the exact same team, surprise, surprise. Sengoku, once again, is going to be very good for this fight. So we've got Battle 2 with the defense up, and one of your characters on your bottom row is switched into the captain position. But what we'll do is we use the Akainu special to deal with the defense up and actually switch him into the captain position, because when we move into that next stage, or when we actually defeat the boss, he actually can't switch any of our captains around, because we already have a captain swapping effect on our crew, which means that when we reach the boss stage, we can actually choose which of the characters we want to be our captain, giving us the most damage potential, providing their super types with additional color affinity, because we can switch either Fujitora if he stays as a side unit, or we can switch Kuzan, or Kizaru should we say, if he becomes a quick unit, to use their super types to give them additional color affinity. And of course, all of these other crewmates will activate specials that can get rid of the rest of the gimmicks that we have to deal with versus Blackbeard. And then moving on to the final boss, of course, Hino is going to be very good for this. However, after doing a little bit of testing, the Sengoku batch also does work for this fight as well, so long as you have enough stats to actually tank the death hit, which you are able to do if you have some pretty decent stat supports applied to your crew. So yeah, so the Sengoku batch literally is a one team versus all, surprise, surprise, against this fight, which is what I actually will be using instead of this Hina team. But this is just going to show that if you have Hina, she's great for this. We are also using the treasure map rare recruits of Smoker and also Toadskii, but they are definitely not required, but they do have very powerful specials, not really for the utility, but for the damage that they actually provide, where Smoker gives you color affinity and resistance down, and then the Toadskii provides chain boundary and chain boost. And because with those two specials we'll have a color affinity and a chain boost, we can actually use the special ability of Shanks, which will get around the enemy's damage threshold, which will occur after level 30 on the Blackbeard fight, so that's why Shanks is on the team. And of course, Shanks is really good for this because not only does he get type advantage, but his special is actually very useful. So again, depending on your team comp, you can actually use his super tandem, which is pretty awesome. But that's going to wrap it up for me. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But on that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.
Kawaii こと言うのね。